Okay, what's up? I'm here to review a book, The Black Kids, hopefully you can see it, by Christina Hammonds Reed, and I actually have this signed by the author. Do you want to see? So I wrote a full review on my Instagram, so check out Interested in Black Books. This wasn't my favorite read, but I want to read more YA this year, and also I really liked the cover. There's just a lot of things I have a problem with when it comes to the main character, and so that's why it was hard to read. I don't feel like the book was poorly written. I just feel like the main character was just doing a lot in a bad way. Yeah, let's get into the book. So this book is interestingly set during the Rodney King riots of 1992, following the verdict that the 4 cops who beat up Rodney King would not be charged. They were basically acquitted. LA basically exploded into protests and riots. And when I say riots, I don't say riots to express a negative belief about rioting. I think riots are the language of the oppressed and the unheard. And so obviously I think it was justified. But they are called either Rodney King riots or Los Angeles riots. Sometimes people will call it Los Angeles riots to also include the fact that another contributing event that happened was that Letitia, who was a 15-year-old girl, was shot by a South Korean store owner because the store owner thought that Letitia was stealing orange juice. She wasn't. She had money in her hand, but also it's orange juice, kill a human over orange juice, just let them steal the orange juice at that point. And the main character, Ashley, is kind of removed from it in a way because she lives in a wealthy, hilly, white neighborhood in Los Angeles because her parents are wealthy black people who have ascended the class ladder. She's not in the areas that the rioting is occurring. She's in her nice neighborhood. But she's also not as removed as her white friends are because, one, her older sister Jo is participating in the riots, and then also her dad's mom, so her grandmother, owns a store where the riots are occurring, and there's fear that it might be looted. So, Ashley's removed, class removes her, but race brings her back. Ashley at her high school is popular, relatively popular. She's a cheerleader, and she's a senior. She's a 17-year-old senior finding her way. And she has only white friends, which is really interesting. She has 3 white girlfriends, so Heather, Courtney, and Kimberly, and then 2 white guy friends, Trevor and Michael. Michael's also dating Kimberly. Keep that in mind because that will be a part of the story. So I'm gonna get into some spoilers, so if you don't want to hear the rest of this, then just click out, come back when you finish this book. So Ashley doesn't hang out with the black kids, she hangs out with the white kids, and not only that, they're not even good white friends. They're very racist to Ashley. I don't even want to call them microaggressions because I don't think they're microaggressions. They're racist. Heather, who's Jewish, white Jewish, will always try to compare being Jewish to black. Plus, Heather's grandmother will call Ashley a slur for black people in Yiddish. And I'm just like, Ashley, you cannot let those things slide. And plus, Heather will say, woman is the N-word of the world. So look that up. That's a common quote that white feminists will say, or it was back in the day. And it's just like, you're letting your white friend say the N-word because what? She's trying to express a feminist sentiment? No, Ashley. To me, there's not even any resistance on Ashley's part, which is really weird. Courtney will always call Ashley for the homework and copy her homework. And then Kimberly, who is the worst, will just microaggression on top of microaggression, but she also tells Ashley she's good. She doesn't have to worry about getting into college because Ashley's black. And it's just like, Ashley, stand up for yourself. At least resist a little bit. You're not even saying anything. It's really, really weird. The other thing that I don't like is that Ashley projects onto the other black kids her idea of what blackness is and how she's different from it, if that makes sense. Ashley doesn't hang out with the other black kids until the very end of the book when she becomes radicalized, and the reason why is because she feels like she doesn't fit in, and there's 2 instances that she really talks about. One instance, the 2 black kids are joking about eating off-brand cereal or something, and they're like, oh, the white kids wouldn't get it, and they're being friendly, laughing, kind of trying to make friendly talk, and Ashley in her head is just like, I just don't get it. I couldn't relate. And it's just like, Ashley, it's not that serious. Just laugh at the joke and move on. And plus, they didn't even say, like, you don't get it. They said the white kids don't get it. So just laugh at the joke and move on. Also, there's a scene where Ashley's practicing AAVE and saying the N-word in a casual way. And she's noticing that it comes out very weird and non-native. Like, it's not sounding natural. And she's just like, I'm going to abandon this. And I'm just like, Ashley, I get it. I get it because I was raised in the suburbs. I understand that it hurts. It hurts to feel like that is blackness and that you are outside of it. But at the same time, it's not that serious for you to avoid every black person in your grade. I don't want to be too harsh on Ashley because I do understand growing up in a white suburb and feeling like, you know, less black or not black enough, whatever that is. But I never self-segregated myself from every black person at my high school. Like, I had a good group of black girlfriends in high school and middle school. Like, so it's like, no, it makes sense if you don't relate to all black people because no black person relates to all black people. But for you to really exclude yourself from all of them, really all of them? Granted, when you're raised in a white suburb, you do internalize whiteness and you do kind of like compare yourself to European beauty standards, but the level of hatred is just out of control. And Ashley does something so unforgivable to LaShawn. And LaShawn is this golden boy basketball player who is basically on a sports scholarship. And LaShawn actually has a crush on Ashley. And he's actually friendly to Ashley, which is why it's so weird when Ashley lies on him and tells her white friend, like, oh, I think LaShawn might have stolen his new shoes during the riots, and gets LaShawn suspended. I'm like, that level of anti-blackness is out of control, Ashley. For no reason. You're spreading that for no reason. Like, LaShawn's nice to you. He didn't do anything to you, and you just told your white friends, I think he stole? Like, what was the reason? What was the reason, Ashley? What was the reason for that? And this is what also gets me, is that the way she starts hanging out with the black kids is so extreme to me. So basically, Ashley kind of like, you know, tries to ignore the riots until during prom, Kimberly finds out that Ashley has been hanging out, hooking up with her boyfriend, Michael. And Kimberly pushes Ashley into the pool and calls her the N-word in front of all her peers. And so Ashley is walking home, or trying to walk away from prom at least. And LaShawn finds her, and LaShawn is so forgiving. He basically forgives Ashley for, you know, lying on him. And he's like, well, I want to go see if my mom's okay because, you know, we live where the riots are happening. So they walk to his house, and basically a cop pulls him over, like points a gun at them and says, get on the ground. This is what radicalizes Ashley, and she starts hanging out with the black kids afterwards at the high school. And it's just like, it takes a cop leveling a gun at you for you to hang out with other black kids. Like, that is trauma bond. I feel like Ashley's trauma bonding. She's like, oh my God, I got called the N-word by my white friend, and a gun was leveled at me, and so now I have to hang out with black people because I've just been, you know, traumatized. It's just like, can there be a story about black people loving each other without the trauma bond? Is that what it takes for you to realize that the black kids are all right? And I think that was the point of the book, right? Because, you know, you're supposed to see this extreme change, right? It's supposed to illustrate how police brutality really puts pressure on a lot of black teens' relationships with white people. And I get it. And it's true. It does. It's very true. It was just like internalized anti-blackness like I've never seen. Like, you're letting people say the N-word around you, your white friends, with no resistance. It would be different if you resisted and then forgave easily, but with no resistance. And then you're lying on black kids, talking about LaShawn stole his shoes, knowing that he has a sports scholarship and that it could easily be revoked. And you're not hanging out with the black kids because you feel like you can't relate, even though there are various cultures amongst the black kids at your high school. It's giving Stacey Dash in a very weird way. Ashley's redemption came way too late in the book for me, and it was just way too out of the blue because it was so extreme. Her level of anti-black was so extreme that it was just like, oh, now you want to really last few weeks of high school, now you're hanging out with the black kids. Never say never, but it was weird. So anyway, I just felt like interesting book. I get the premise. I think it being set during the riots was a very interesting take and a very interesting just story to read. But I was just like, nah, you're too anti-black for me, and I can't relate all the way because I do relate to some of what Ashley feels, like her not wanting to care about the riots because she's exhausted by racism. I related to that. And I did relate to the microaggressions because honestly, if you go to a white school, they will say crazy things to you. But it was just like the level of her not resisting at all. So it was just like, whoa. So anyway, interesting, but not my favorite. So I am going to be giving this away or unhauling it, even though it is signed. But I'm happy that I'm reading more YA, and this is a Black author. So go support. Thank you for reading, and bye.